Okay, welcome to Blueberry Wolf Bridge, aka No Intro RPG. And we say hello to the elephant in the room, and we say hello to somebody because we are live. Woo! Woo! Yay! So, for a while now, I have been, as a refugee, a stranger in a stranger land, um, used to live streaming as a means of content creation in a new space, um, uh, starting a new channel where I did not have the option of live streaming, was kvetching and complaining and wanting to have the freedom of live streaming again, thinking that that would be an entree to quicker content creation. So here we are, able to live stream. We will see if that holds true. So, I, as my virgin entree in this new realm of the solo RPG, the RPG channel, as the holding true to my, I think it's my mission on YouTube, the true support of the micro chapbook RPG system on YouTube happened about a year ago. About a year ago, there was a wave of coverage about two or three. We use these numbers. These numbers don't mean anything. This is just some YouTubers provided coverage of this system, and since then, there hasn't been much new YouTube content that I see. I mean, it's hard to ascertain, really. Um, but I would like to see more. I mean, I love this system, so I've decided to kind of make it my mission to cover it more. And really, Pragmagic is here, says, "Hell yeah, my kind of game," and we're going to support it. I really like it, so I'm gonna keep on going with it. And I think it's really interesting because what's fascinating about it is that it reminds me of, like, noise or tape culture. This is like a one person band. And what's really fascinating about it is that the content creator, Noah Patterson, wears their heart very close to their sleeve. They are very public in their editorial sections, the intros and outros about their personal journey. Their personal journey is way out in the open, in the materials, and we'll talk about that. It'll have to be covered. There's no way that I can promote this material and not talk about the individual's personal journey. And I go back and forth with the gendered pronouns because this individual is on a personal journey, and it's incredible, and it's fascinating because this individual is on an idiosyncratic personal journey in a very idiosyncratic way. They Oh, it's fascinating. Oh, it's not tea in particular. It's a very special, unique, wow, it's their life story and they are telling it to the world. And I have a front row seat and my nose is pressed up to the glass and I am loving every minute of it. And in the meantime, and it's wrapped up in a game that reminds me of my youth, and it's wrapped up in a tabletop solo play RPG that, who could ask for anything more? And I got to keep my eye on the battery of the camera, and I got to do my best to make sure that I don't make the review so idiosyncratic that it only makes sense to me and the handful of people who followed me, like refugees from the Conspiracy Theory channel. Malta 2000 XL, you know what? Don't celebrate coming over here with a ban. You know what I mean? There you go. Malta 2000 XXL. It's great because Malta 2000 XXL. I wouldn't ban you so quick because you are, look, a product of my science experiments. So look, you know, it is what it is. Oh, where to start? Where to begin? Um, it's one of those things. This happened on my old channel. On my old channel, covering conspiracy theory, strangeness, amongst other things, personal theories, private conundrums, occult wanderings. We would visit subjects, we would revisit subjects. And whether it was a denial of the fact that we had a recurring group of regulars who heard the same old stories over and over again, and it was a fantasy that there were going to be new people and there was channel growth and people needed to hear new things, or if it's just a holdover of human communication, we always end up reinventing the wheel when we cover these things. And that subject of reinventing the wheel is an appropriate thing, and there's a reason why I bring it up in context of this system, this micro chapbook RPG system, because there's so much repetition involved in this work, in this product, but it's a kind of necessary repetition. The whole point of the system, the whole beauty of the system is its self-contained nature. It's a series of simple interconnected rules born of, really, it has its origins in a culture of what was known as a one-page RPGs. This goes back to, this was, I don't know if Noah particularly is, he must know, they must know this community of, Steve Jackson, old Gary Gygax. People used to do this, like this one-page RPGs, like designing rule sets that could fit on one page, and they've like one-page RPG jams and stuff. But the original micro chapbook RPG, and the reason that it has this name, and I've posted links to Noah's videos covering his history, their history of the system. The first iterations of the game literally fit on one piece of paper that could be folded in half, and that was why it was, to call it a chapbook, right? Like the original poetry chapbooks were small little books that would be carried around by, like, poets and pilgrims and such. No, it's okay, Malta 2000. Don't worry about it. You're forgiven. You're forgiven. We say hello to all the refugees. You will be my core audience of strangers forever. Um, as I get lost in the shuffle, I apologize. So it's a simple set of rules that were eminently transportable, that could fit on one page. And like, let me even, I have these all over the place. I'm such a fan of this system. I have them like lying all over the place. Well, literally, I have one over here. Here's a later iteration of this. Here's Bug Ship. I literally have these things lying around. It's two pieces of paper, and these systems. I mean, if you watching the first couple of videos on micro chapbook RPG that I watched, I think I understood the rules, and it's like, that's like why I use the, like, say that's like punk rock, or like 7 inches, or like cassette culture, because, and I think that Noah embraces this, is like, you could literally, like, it's like fanzines, like Xerox this stuff and pass it around. I think there's an understanding, like we talked about this, like the Patterson's kind of habit of having on everything this warning: stop, don't buy this book, at least not yet. The basic rules for the micro chapbook RPG system can be downloaded for free in any micro chapbook. And he's referring to these little 2-pagers kind of things. Generally they are, though the drive-through-rpg.com, each standalone chapbook includes the complete rules for you to play the game. So basically, the way that the game kind of evolved, it started off in kind of the early days. I kind of understand it, of like kind of the lockdown, or maybe not the early days. It doesn't really, history doesn't really matter. And it was basically kind of an early system. And the early system, this is not the earliest iterations, but basically the early system is an early system of character generation that has by and large remained generally the same. Four stats: strength, dexterity, wits, and charisma. 7 points to assign between them at the beginning of character generation. Some rules say that you could give you 9 points to allocate. 4 classes. These are the original rules had 4 classes that would give you proficiency in one of these stats. And if you had proficiencies in one of these, let me just read the rules once. So the original game was played with 2 6-sided dice, graph paper, character sheet, pencil with an eraser, and one of these rules. During play, you would roll 1d6, trying to score equal or lower than your stat score. It's a roll under system. If you were proficient in any stat, any of these particular stats, strength, dexterity, wits, or charisma, you would roll 2 of these dice instead of 1. Right? So you'd have 2 opportunities to get your target number instead of 1 opportunity, taking the lower of these 2 dice rolls instead of, so having 2 chances to score the winning number. 1 would always succeed, 6 would always fail. Note, when you see an ID3 in the things, it means you would roll a 6-sided die and have it and round up. You'd have we said the 4 statistics. At the onset of character generation, no stat could be lower than 1. No stat could be higher than 4. At the beginning of character generation, you would choose a class. The beginning fantasy sets, you would have the choice of either, like a fighter, a wizard, a blah, blah, blah. And each of the classes would be proficient in one of these skills: strength, dexterity, wits, or charisma. And each of these skills will be tested at one of the points during the dungeons. And like I said, the beauty of the system is that it evolved. The character generation was integral to the dungeon run. Everything worked together. And then in addition to class, you would choose a rank, or choose a class. You would choose a race. Or, I'm looking at Bugship, which, uses terms that, puts in a sci-fi setting. The Blood for a Dollar puts it into, we're reviewing Blood for a Dollar. Let's just dig into Blood for a Dollar. The point is this: I just want to give you the onset of the rules. Then there's health is a substat. We'll get into it. The point is this: is that in the micro chapbook RPG system, you have these very simple rules. You'd have a substat for the generation of money. You'd roll 2d6 to generate money. Every rule set would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 melee weapons, 5 ranged weapons, with the exact same kind of demarcations of weapon damage, the same cost, the same weapon damage for range, the same cost for ranged weapons. And then, likewise for armor and items. And then they'd have rules, standardized rules for the generating of rooms, the generating of types of rooms, the generating of types of doors, and the populating of those rooms with enemies, and how to generate the final boss, and rules for leveling up. Okay, so a very simple system at the outset that people enjoyed very much. And as they enjoyed it, they came up with their own kind of, ways to extend the rule set and their suggestions. Okay. And then what ended up happening is that Noah, taking these suggestions on, kind of came up with ways to kind of extend things out and kind of improve the system and elaborate the system, not really fundamentally changing the rules, but explaining them and elaborating them out better. So the next kind of iteration that happened, the next natural iteration that happened was these first iterations of the rules that just happened with these little paragraphs, these lines of explanations of these rules, got expanded out into these deluxe core rule books where this might not be the exact historicity of how these things happen, but it was kind of the general evolution where these rules would then get put out into these kind of expanded out worlds. And there was a deluxe core rule book that was specifically for the fantasy setting. And then there's this deluxe core rule book that was for a Weird West or Wild West setting. And all that really ends up happening is that the file numbers are kind of taken off, and the names of the fantasy weapons are switched in for other things. And let's go through and review. And I don't have a script here, and all I'm really going to try and do here is kind of tell you about my experiences with this game, kind of tell you about my history with this game, where it is in my experience with the micro chapbook RPG system, and kind of where it is in the evolving RPG, micro chapbook RPG system universe, which is a vast and fast evolving universe. It really is. This is a universe where at the end of 2021, we were kind of being told that there was kind of going to be this kind of like ultimate, like kind of like statement of like the rules in the form of like this like basic edition rule book and a more elaborate, advanced kind of rule set. And that this was going to be kind of a definitive statement of the rules. And I've talked about this in a kind of fascinating way. I've expressed it in a kind of humorous kind of consternation, but it's kind of hilarious. To me, it's a little bit funny. I think it's cute, but it's the way creatives are. You know, like within months, there's been an explosion of these new products that have completely obliterated any sort of notion that this basic edition or these advanced editions are in any way, shape, or form, definitive, because they're basically outmoded. Because the introduction of like whole new races and classes and systems of rules in the Midnight series and in the like the introduction of the Fey Beans in the the Rainbow Unicorn Quest. I mean, these have an extra save roll. I mean, because of their size and they can fly. I mean, it's just a whole. I mean, it's just they're just. Oh, it's a whole new thing. It's just a whole goddamn thing. But you know what I mean? It's just that's the beauty of it. But there's a way to avoid it, which is just don't say things like this is the definitive anything, because in 2022 and beyond, there's no definitive anything. Trust me. But anyway, typical me. The solo RPG people and the RPG people will learn what the conspiracy theory people learned long ago, which is we're 20 minutes in and we're about ready to start the review of the thing that this is supposed to be a review of. Blood for $1 Deluxe Core Rulebook, a micro chapbook RPG rulebook set in the grim Wild West, designed by Noah Patterson. You know, I first discovered these books on Amazon, and I thought they were too good to be true. I was looking for old RPG books, and these books would constantly be popping up, and I would be like, there's no way. Are you kidding me? I didn't really know anything about the concept of solo RPGs. I knew and understood, about choose your own adventure books. I really had no concept. I mean, I had as of like even like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'd really know I'd never heard of anything like Four Against Darkness or anything like that. If you said 4 AD, I thought you were talking about like the Cocteau Twins and the Pale Saints. I had no idea about anything like that. So I would see these advertisements for these things. I'd be like, the fuck, what the hell is this? This is like insane. I would read the descriptions of things like Neon Roads. I'd be like, wait, this is too good to be true. You gotta be kidding me. You play this by yourself? No way. But then I saw reviews on YouTube of people playing it. And honestly, like I said, seeing the YouTube people play it, you get the impression if you watch a couple of people play this game on YouTube, you really don't need to buy the rules. And I think Noah probably understands that. And I think I said I probably started this. There's probably punk rock, rave culture, underground club culture, Xerox these flyers, put them around town, get it up, let's make it happen, dub these tapes. It's cool. We're trying to get kids to the show type of vibe that's down with that. And it's like intentional. There's a reason why, they're telling you don't buy this book. You can get the shit for free here. And they're telling you where to get it. It's like Fugazi, like don't pay more than X for this tape. Don't buy, if you paid more than X for this CD, you got ripped off. This is a $5 show. You know what I mean? Like there's like, I think that's cool. And that's part of the reason why I like it. So I finally got the vibe and was like, holy shit, like this is like right up my alley. So when I started getting into the solo RPG thing, I realized it was like right up my alley. And then so I started like taking a look but like everyone who started to figure out, you start to do a search on Amazon or whatever for this person's work, and you immediately discover what? You get flooded. There's 80, it's like Mare's Bow. Like, where do you start? Like, there's 90 friggin' titles. And trying to figure out which one is the good one, or which ones are the best ones, or which ones maybe out of date, or which ones are duplicative, or which ones you need before which other ones, or what's a supplement versus, what's the primary source. It can be really difficult. So, but they're not expensive. So you take a guess, you take a gander. And originally I thought the basic sci-fi, which was the kind of the sci-fi mate of this bad boy, was going to be the one that was going to really turn my crank and was going to be the basis of, my first couple of, solo playthroughs, and was definitely going to be kind of like where I was going to start with Micro Chapbook. And I started with it and I started reading it, but I discovered something. What had really kind of gotten me so jazzed about those original playthroughs I started watching on YouTube, they were all playing the first iterations of Micro Chapbook. And this new basic set was a new thing that Noah had updated with using full set of polyhedral dice and taking it in some not radically different directions. It was fully compatible with the old set of rules, but it was different. And it wasn't what I was expecting. And it wasn't what I was psyched up to do. It wasn't what I was prepped to do. And it wasn't what I was, jazzed to do. And it wasn't what I was like, down to do. And it just whatever. But I picked up a 2 or 3 other titles at the same time that I picked up that one from Amazon. And one of them was Blood for $1. And, it wasn't like that I was like particularly like going crazy about the old west, or the weird west, setup or whatever. I want to keep an eye on this. Oh shit, this thing's gonna die. Crabola. Fuck yeah. Okay, mother's. You know what? God damn. Is this thing gonna die? This might be a part one. Holy mother. Damn alive. That's what I get for talking. Holy mom. I'm gonna have to change the title of this video to something like part one, we intro. Holy crap. God damn it. Son of a gun. You're gonna, oh man. Son of a bitch. What did we do last time? Hold on. Because I don't want to do the face cam thing. Shit. And I don't want to fucking. Anyway. Damn, I don't want. I'm not gonna work under pressure. Well, that's not gonna work. I'm not gonna work under pressure. We're just gonna have to do this as a part one. Are we gonna do a part one intro? That's gonna be like a joke. That's gonna be such a joke. But that's gonna be such an important introduction to the community to me. Do you know what I mean? That like, hello, I did the intro. Dang. Section one, Noah lets us know some films that Blood for Dollars, an ultra simple role playing game set in the Grim Wild West, uses the popular micro chapbook RPG system, focuses on solitary gameplay. Of course, you could use it in in a traditional RPG setup as well. Gives us some cultural references like some spaghetti westerns. And of course, what would make it Weird West versus anything else? Look, you just make it an alien, right? What do you need to play? We went over that part during gameplay. It's a roll under D6. If you watch, you don't need me to character creation. Character creation is completed in 5 very simple steps. 1, determine the 4 stat scores. Look, here's the thing. Damn it, I don't want to work under pressure. Fuck me. You know what? I'm going to switch cameras. Did we do that where I switched cameras before? Shit, there's no one here live to help me out. Okay, fuck me. Here, let me do this. Hold on. I wonder if you can hear me. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's going to be a shitbag quality and loss of video quality, but that's on me. But at least you'll be like blah. I apologize. I'm not. Can you hear me? Can you hear me a calling? Do 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 do. People will be like, oh, man, Jesus. Live stream for loser. This is the show, folks. God. Incredible. I don't know if they'll do that. Okay. Let's see if this will work. Da 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 da. Can you hear me though? Shoot. I need someone to tell me if they can hear me. Fuck. Let's see, well, now I've got the MacGyver the situation. How will I do this? I'll listen to myself. I'll go to my channel. I'll go to my channel and listen to myself. I'll go to my channel and listen to myself. I'll go to my channel and listen to myself. There I am. There's the feedback. Okay, so blah 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 blah. Here I am. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Save the situation. Fuck my mother. Okay. Screw you. The show must go on. Fuck everybody. Here I am. 31 minutes in. No one will ever watch any of this. And I lost my core audience of nobody. Fuck everybody. Fuck everybody. And the bitterness sets in. Yes, I love it. Here we go, folks. Yada. Okay, so look. Here's what I wanted to do. And the funny thing is, the hilarious thing is, honestly, when I contemplated making this video, I thought to myself, I said, dude, I said, you know what? I said, at the end of the day, I didn't have notes. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? You've thought about this material enough. I said, by the end of, I said, when you sit down and end up executing this video, I bet you this will be a 15-minute video. I bet you this will be like, honestly, I bet you this will be a 12-minute video. You'll go in, you'll open it up, you'll go through it, you'll explain to them where it is, what the deal is with the repetitiveness of the program, because you know it's a self-encompassed, you know, integrated system. So there's a fair amount of repetition because it's self-contained. So the same amount of material, the rule set keeps on getting repeated. So there's you know repetition, and so that creates confusion and difficulty. You know, but then you sit down and you realize, oh man, you probably should have written a script because it gets difficult. Anyway, where is the system? Where is the game? Where's the world? Is Blood for $1 the Wild West RPG? Is it in the iteration of the rules of Microchapbook RPG? Is it in the naming of those rules, the renaming of those rules from the fantasy tropes of fighter, bard, wizard to bounty hunter, gunslinger, medicine man, showgirl? Does it become Blood for $1, Old West, Wild West setting when throwing star becomes slingshot, when you know punching dagger becomes pocket knife? When axe becomes wood axe, you know what I mean? When crossbow becomes double barrel shotgun? Does it become Blood for $1 when the items get changed from crust of bread to beans, ale to coffee? Does it happen when we change the name of the rooms from cave to corral? Right? Because the first iterations of the games, when it's just two pieces of paper, that's called the Microchapbook RPG game. You know, Field of Vermin or whatever. You know, Crypt of the Wizard. You know, Ass Fucking of the Hesperant. That it's called a game. You know, like it's called like that game is called a game. You know what I mean? And Blood for $1 is called the deluxe core rulebook. It turns it into the old Wild West, and it changes those names to the things, and then it has 5 of those little games that used to be called those individual games that used to be just the game, that used to be an iteration of Micro Chapbook RPG in and of itself. These 2 pages, just the character generation, just the item list that was a repetition, just the enemy names that was unique. That was a game. Now the game is a setting, maybe a set of NPCs, some context, some flavor, a whole thing, and a series of those little events with different rooms and different scenarios, right? And maybe a variation on the rule set, right? And so everything becomes like it changes with the deluxe core rule books. And then, so that's where an evolution starts to happen. And there's been evolutions since the generation of Blood for $1. And that's part of the issue then. What happens with products in the Micro Chapbook RPG thing. Because Blood for $1 will have individual strengths for it that will recommend it and make it unique and interesting. And a place to start, a place to finish, a thing that will recommend it, and they'll have weaknesses. And I love it, and I think it's great, and I think it's highly recommended. Number one, because of its price. It depends on. I don't mess with like a lot of PDFs. I'll download things because of cheapness. Because hey, but I like physical products. I mean, I think these things are collectible. I think these things are beautiful. I like these cheap illustrations. I think they add a lot to it. I like the fact that this thing, in many ways, resembles the thing that you might find in the middle school library. Let's talk about some things that if you are a fan of if you already are a fan of Micro Chapbook RPG, here's what would recommend it. It's a wonderful addition to it because you could see things, an iteration of Micro Chapbook RPG that's unique. Blood for $1, you'll always hear the Weird West mentioned when people talk about what Micro Chapbook RPG can do. You could do anything with Micro Chapbook RPG. You could do horror. You could do this. You could do the Weird West. There's a reason why Noah came out with Blood for $1. You could tell the love that is brought to the recommended viewing. You could tell with the speed with which this book was brought out in the lineup and in the history, that this was a subject matter and a wheel of culture that meant a lot to the author and the creator. And there's a lot there, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. It's not perfect, and there's a kill. The rules are so simple that one typo can send things off on some craziness, and one typo does. So let me tell you, just go through it and tell you my personal history with this thing, and I'll explain to you a little bit about the small little action figures you see here. So, like I said, I started reading the science fiction, more kind of advanced thing, and I thought to myself immediately, oh man, well, this is cool, but this isn't exactly what I was watching the YouTuber guys do. And then I started reading this one, and I said, hot diggity damn, this is exactly what the YouTuber guys were doing. But I'm not really the biggest fantasy guy. I do the fantasy thing because that's what everybody does with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. But I'm not really the craziest thing about it, and I like different things. So when this was something different than just the fantasy stuff, I thought great, and I read it and I understood it completely, and I understood the rule set, and I really liked a bunch of the stuff that I saw regarding freedom of the player being acknowledged and encouraged. Like here, let's look at character classes. Like I said, you have a simple set of four statistics. You have 7 points to assign to them. And the points are you're going to roll a six-sided die. A one is always a success, a six is always a failure. No stat can ever be higher than a five in the basic game, right? Because six is always a failure, and your stat is you're trying to hit your stat or lower. It makes no sense to have your stat be a six because a six is an automatic failure. So five is the best your stat can ever be, right? So how do you assign these stats? Is you're trying to get, and you see, there's not a lot of numbers to play with. There's not a lot, so it's all about balancing these stats, and all the stats are going to come into play at a particular point in our dungeon adventure. You can be one of four different classes, and in the Old West, your classes are going to be either a bounty hunter who is proficient in strength. That means when it comes to strength tests, that's like fighting the bad guys, you're going to roll two dice instead of one. Or you could be a gunslinger. The gunslinger is a nice little moxie lady. The gunslinger, gunfighter, is going to, those dexterity tests where they're shooting, they're going to roll two dice instead of one dice when they're doing those ranged attacks. Okay? The medicine man or medicine woman, they're going to do their wits test. They're going to do two dice. Now, here's the thing. We might as well stop right here and talk about wits and talk about the showgirl who does charisma tests. Now, at this time when they did the deluxe core rulebooks at this iteration, there was no real robust magic system in deluxe core in Micro Chapbook RPG. We talked about this when I did my review of Hive of Bone. And one of the things that I loved about Hive of Bone was it introduced a psionic and or magic system into that wasn't in existence in the sci-fi core rulebook system, but was introduced into some other systems. Without a magic system, the medicine man ain't doing nothing except picking locks. I don't know why they don't call that guy a thief, but that's just a thing, the choice that the creator made. But so when you first start looking at this system, it's hard to understand that there's any real benefit to playing anything other than a pure strength build. So that's what I did. I made a pure strength build, but we're going to understand something. There's going to be problems doing a pure strength build, but we're going to get into that. Crafting your own class, but now this is something I like. Look at this. If none of the given classes appeal to you, feel free to craft one of your own. To do this simple, think of any class you would want to play as. What is their background, history, and skills? What proficiency would they have? Write in the class name and the stat proficiency on your sheet. I immediately thought of a samurai in the Old West. I think there's been movies and games like that. In fact, I know there have been. So I thought of a guy like that. First guy I played in the Blood for a Dollar system was a samurai in the Old West. A kind of East meets West kind of thing. Died immediately. Then we also have character descriptions. This is a bonus that you would get to one of your stats. This is a +1 to one of your stats that you take immediately at character creation. They call them character descriptions here. In the fantasy base game, this is like race. Like a dwarf gets a plus to wits. I don't know why I'm making them a great wizard. Elves get plus to charisma, whatever. Crafting your descriptions again. You can make any sort of, if none of these given descriptions appeal to you, feel free to craft one of your own. To do this is simple. Think of any background character type you would want to play as. You see this a lot in Micro Chapbook RPG. Look, at this point in character creation, what are we doing here? We're adding +1 to one of your stats. You add +1 to one of your stats and come up with a reason why you're doing it. I like that sort of autonomy and freedom. Health and grit. Here are the substats. Your health and your grit are determined by your current stats you've already created. Health is your dexterity plus your strength plus 20 or plus 30 in this early iteration of the rules. Your grit, I think it's called willpower, and other standard iterations of the system, is your wits and your charisma plus 20 or plus 30, depending on how easy and or difficult you're setting your ranges. Now, your willpower is a very interesting system. It's either used for re-rolling. You can spend willpower to re-roll bad stat checks other than automatic failures. And also, you need willpower to pass you gain willpower when you pass your charisma tests, and you can lose willpower when you fail your charisma tests against enemies. And if you lose your willpower, you have to do +1 on your stat checks, which can make it very difficult. So, when I thought that the meaning to life and everything was to put everything into strength, I created a character that had nothing except strength, and they spent their entire life in a dungeon, terrified of everything, with no willpower, constantly terrified and scared of everything. And even with all the strength in the world, they were still losing off on rolls because they were constantly at a disadvantage. Now, here's one thing that I would say. So, one thing, every iteration instance of micro chapbook RPG is interesting, because usually what ends up happening is there's always one thing that makes every game, every rule book different and unique. Everything has one thing that Noah seems to have tried. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe they forget it, maybe they were dissatisfied with the results, maybe they, whatever reason, it's introduced, it's not introduced, it works, it doesn't work. And if you get the book, you have it in your repertoire. And then when you're doing your micro chapbook RPG playthrough, you can have it in there. And in Blood for a Dollar, it's this. When you are in a dungeon, you can, oh wait, actually it's not this one yet. Here we have some melee weapons and ranged weapons. In the deluxe core rulebooks, you get a much more robust variety of weapons. So when you get the deluxe core rulebooks, or I guess also a selling point for Blood for a Dollar would be that you would get a robust amount of weapons. They also have the blow through ability, which means that when you if you've leftover damage from one enemy, it can go over to another one. Blow through damage is a stat that used to appear on weapons that has not appeared on weapons in many months. Is that because the stat has been taken out of the system, or simply because weapons with the stat have not been in the books? We don't know. It's hard to tell whether or not something is omitted on purpose or it's an omission. You know what I mean? It's really crazy. Now look, here is a typo. This is something you can't tell if it's on purpose or if it's a typo. We need clarification from the author. Noah Patterson, I demand an answer. Noah Patterson, I demand an answer. I demand an answer. I demand an answer. You owe the world an answer. Seriously. Look at this. In every fucking, this has got to be a typo, but I can't tell if it's a typo because it might be a gambling dynamic. Okay. Items. This is a standard aspect of micro chapbook RPG. When in a dungeon, the items in the store will always be numbered 2 through 6. And the reason they will be numbered this way is because you may have an opportunity to roll for an item when in the dungeon. After defeating all enemies after standard enemy battle in a room, you will roll for the treasure roll to see what you've acquired. You will roll the 1d6. If you roll 1 through 5, you will have acquired that many pieces of gold. Fine. If you roll a 6, you will have found an item, Kalu Kalay. You will then roll for the item. If you roll a 2 through a 6, you will get that numbered item on the standard item list. Every micro chapbook RPG game, by definition, will have an item list, or it will be like, you know, non-compliant, and it will be hunted like an animal, and, you know, taken to the wilds to be sacrificed to the gods. I don't know, to Morkborg or whatever. But if you roll a 1, you get jack shit nothing, which makes no fucking sense because this entire fucking game we've been integrated into our skulls that 1 is glory, glory, hallelujah. 1 is always the ultimate success. 6 is you're fucked in the ass by the devil, right? But in this instance, yay, 1 through 5, you've got gold, baby. 6, yes, ultimate, it's an item just like, but wait, I thought 6 was terrible, but no, now it's good, and it's even better. Hold on. But listen to this. In every fucking iteration of Micro Chapbook RPG I've ever seen, and I've seen almost all of them, I think, the ultimate item is a miracle or whatever, and it's always full health and will fill her up for 6 gold. But here it has health and grit, but it has 1d6. That's 1 dice roll. So you could get a 1 replenishment of both of those things for 6 gold. Meanwhile, if you're playing an easy game of this, it costs you 50 gold to level up. So 6 gold in every other instance of this game would get you an item that would fully heal and restore all of your health and willpower. But in this iteration of the game, you could spend that same amount of money and only get an item that would get you a roll of the dice of a filler up. So you could get potentially only 6 at most. That's got to be a typo. There's no fucking way that you're supposed to get just that for 2 gold you get 1d6 grit, or for 2 gold you get 1d6 health, but for 6 gold you get 1d6 health and grit? That makes no sense. Why wouldn't you just get 4 gold of this and get the same amount? That's nothing. It's a typo. But I'm an idiot, so instead of doing that math that I just did now, I twice bought steak meals, rolled the dice, and was like, fuck. I even took like an asshole role-playing game dork ass nerd shitbag fucker. I can't believe I didn't do the math. I just realized it was a fucking typo because I'm such a fucking rule follower, moron, shitbag fucker. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm not gonna do that. I've got lives. I've got 1 life. I think. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Where am I looking at my notes? I wrote it down like an idiot. This is when I took this note and then I made myself a promise never to take notes like this again. This is like when I was earnest. when I first started, let me do this so I don't get feedback. I don't want to get like visual feedback. When I was earnest, like when I first started like watching these like solo RPG guys and their channels, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I started doing it, and I like took these notes, and I was like, please don't like be one of these guys. I was like, come here and do this, but like do this, but like don't do it like that. Like don't like let's not turn into these guys. Like let's like no. Hold on. I got notes, but like I was like, let me make like my notes should be like practical. Like don't be like this. No. Don't be like, oh God. Oh shit. Hold on. Wait. Crap. Hold on. Where is it? Oh crap. Shit. Fuck me. Oh God. Oh, here we go. I'm not gonna read this. Ugh. Where did I write this down? Oh no, the point is I wrote down like I was like, oh, I ate the meal and it was that it was vaguely unsatisfying, but it was just ridiculous. Crap. Oh, and then also in these rules, so that's it. So like like if you were playing these rules and you had no other version of this game to cross reference it to, that could break the game. Like that typo would break the fucking game because you would be constantly dying without that item. That's a necessary item to play the fucking game. And uh also this version of the rules, because it's an early iteration of the rules, didn't have as simple a life um a housekeeping function as a note to say when you're outside of the dungeon, you automatically heal your health and willpower, right? Like when you play video games, when you leave, like if you automatically heal, you automatically heal. But if you're playing a tabletop RPG, if the game doesn't tell you, oh, when you leave the dungeon, don't forget to calculate the fact that you automatically heal and get your willpower back, then you have to sit there go, do I automatically heal and get my willpower back? So I was sitting there going, hold on. Uh where is this? Anyway, we gotta treat this like a playtest character, even though I had to a mod rule. It's mid play since when? We want to find our best ideal 1.5 like microchap rule set to use. Da 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 da. Oh, I just realized like, I was like dying. I was like, because like I couldn't like I didn't want to because I didn't have any sort of rule for an in. Like I read later on, I was like, oh, when you are not in the dungeon, you can pay 5 gold to automatically heal, like like you're in an inn. And I was like, okay, I'll just do that. But because I hadn't done that from the outset of the character that I was playing as, I felt like weird doing it like midpoint. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. But then it became such a slog. I was like, oh, this is just like a nightmare. It was just a fucking nightmare. So I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is just like a ridiculous. So it's like not enough gold accumulation to level, especially without an N or an auto refresh of health and grit on exit of dungeon as symbolic virtual rest. Solution in 1.75 are house rules, also D&D rules for rest. Not enough. These are me noting down problems I had with the system. Not enough So this is just like we say things that were kind of things. So this goes to things that the problem is this with Blood for a Dollar is that it's early in the evolution of the system. So life improvements that would come along later aren't here yet. Dual wielding isn't here yet. Later on, dual wielding will become a standard aspect of micro chapbook RPG rule sets. It's not here yet. It's not explained. Resting at an inn is not explained. So that hurts it. That that with the that typo and the fact that major life improvement things aren't here make this difficult to recommend as like a first micro chapbook RPG buy. I think that would be my bottom line for this one would be to say that because of where it is in the history of the system, this isn't a good one to get at the outset now, but it's a great one to add on because it's a great one, if not one of the best ones for extra oomph and flavor, but it's not a good one for baseline because there's so much better ones for baseline. And at baseline, it's got like critical defects. Here's what it excels at. And remember, this hard copy is sold for $6 basically on Amazon. So when I make a recommendation based on the fact that the recommendation is basically going to come down to the treasure roll, the special item treasure roll table, and the 5 or 6 adventures in the back, and the clip art. Yeah, that'll do it on a micro chapbook RPG item because it's $6. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that's what we're playing with because it's a roll your own adventure game, and it's awesome, and I love it. It's the great. We say hello to Genocide. We say hello to Reemsey. If I haven't said hello to people before, as they're popping in and out. The special items. So, like I said, you roll for treasure. And if you standard on the standard micro chapbook RPG, you would roll for treasure 1 through 5. You get that many pieces of gold, right? You roll a 6. Dun, dun, oh no, you roll a 6. Dude, oh no. Wait. You roll a 6, you get the whatchamacallit. You get the item. Now, normally, if you roll the 1 when you get the items, you got jack shit nothing. Yay. But in this Blood for a Dollar, they had a special items thing. And this actually, I think, came from the House Rules, which was a supplement that you could get for like nothing on Drive Through RPG. And what the special items was this instead of getting the fucking dick in the ass of nothing, you got to roll for a special item. And these special items were awesome. Check this out. Number 1, snake oil. Roll ID6. It's a 6-sided die. On a 1 to 3, you gain 2d6 health. That's to your max health. On 4 to 6, you lose 1d6 health. Oh no, actually, that's not your max health. That's just your health. I apologize. So that's snake oil. That's whatever. Well, actually, that should be your max health. I think that's your health. Because this is a special item. Tonic, roll 2d6 and add it to your health and grit. Yeah, that's your health and grit. Rattler venom. Now this is great. This check this out. This got my mind thinking. Now check this out. Now this is exciting. 3, Rattler venom. Roll ID6, 1d6. If you roll 1 to 5, lose 1d6 health. That's from your max health. If you roll a 6, add 1 to your stat of choice. Now, when you level up, you add 1 to one of your stats. So when you get this Rattler Venom, 1 to 5, you lose 1d6 max health. But if you got a 6, you would add, that's the equivalent of leveling up. So I immediately looked at that and said, wow. I said, if you, the statistical odds of getting that selection, but you would like, it was an automatic level up. And I thought to myself, I said, that would drive someone into a dungeon. And I immediately thought of myself, I said, that would drive someone to a world to go into that. I thought that was a motivator that I could see motivating characters or motivating my character to go there and risk taking the venom that would even take off their max health. Now look at this one, horse, number 4, horse. The horse has 10 health. While riding the horse, all attacks are made at -1. That's actually proven because you're rolling under to the roll. All damage that is dealt to you is dealt to the horse first. You may only have one horse at a time. If you roll this item while you are already in possession of a horse, you find nothing. But what's crazy is that when you find this horse, you'd be in a fucking dungeon. So you'd have a horse in a fucking dungeon. That was crazy. I immediately thought of what that show with Bruce Campbell, Briscoe County Jr. That was awesome. Moonshine, roll 1d6. On a 1d3, you gain 2d6 grit. On a 46, you lose 1d6 grit. These are big improvements to your base substats. Dynamite, before combat, make a dexterity roll. If you pass, deal 2d6 times 2 damage to all enemies in the room. If you fail, take 2d6 damage. You use that for a boss. I don't know if you use that on any of the bosses you see here. But anyway, got some great art explaining the boss, backtracking, leveling up, their particular leveling rules, Pesky Pete's 5 trials. And again, this is just simply five adventures, 5 standard micro chapbook RPG adventures that can be played with the characters generated with these rule sets or any rule sets with any micro chapbook RPG system. Any micro chapbook RPG systems, whether it's Neon Road, Savage Queens of the Bay City Rollers, whatever. An awesome game full of flavors. I experienced a lot of frustration based on that critical kind of game breaking typo. An awesome amount of flavor that can add so much to a game now, but very difficult to recommend based on the fact that there's been so much improvement to the rules since that make this iteration of the rule set kind of hard to recommend as a first kind of one, but an excellent one to add for flavor, for flavor text and flavor rules, to your micro chapbook arsenal, once you get going. For sure. And I think that's really it's really only because of that typo and the test of time. Really only. I think it's an explanation of the rules are some of the clearest, and its weapons are fantastic. The blow through quality is great, especially it's convenient for simple bookkeeping. The ability to just have weapons that do blow through. What blow through is that basically you need to know and understand is that when if you've got excess damage once you've killed one enemy, you can keep that damage going to the next guy, which means basically you can, for convenience sake, if I'm dealing with 5 guys in a room and they each have 5 hit points, if I know I've got a shotgun that's got blow through damage, I basically just treat everybody like it's a 25 hit points in the room, right? Because you just keep on just cycling through and just get them all versus having to just do 5 individual hitboxes. Sometimes it's just late at night, it's just fucking easier to just be like, whatever. You know what I mean? You get lazy sometimes. All of these games, all of these instances of the system have individual strengths and recommendations and some small flaws that make them hit or miss, like my videos. I should probably circle back around and try and do a 5-minute version of this video, right? It probably stands that it probably a shorter version of this video could probably stand to be made. Oh Lord have mercy. I'm a work in progress. I've only had 8 years. My first playthrough, my character had nothing. She spent all her money on her little axe. When she got more money, she got the full regalia with the cowboy hat and everything. And I thought, oh, well, I was really using this figure to represent her because this figure had nothing. The Lilu from Fatal Attraction. No, that's not the movie. Too Close to the Edge. No. The Cutting Edge. No, that's not the movie. Fifth Element. And then I thought, oh no, then I've got this like Clementine thing from that's not her name, but I think it's similar to from Fortnite. And I thought, ooh, the red hair, that'll work. So it's not exactly the scale, but when I got her the full regalia, it was an easy pop in. And then you know what I like to do when I'm playing with the graph paper is I like to just set up a simple scene. I have an action figure. If I have a representative action figure, I do that. I don't work with like little tabletop miniatures or anything, but I like to have a little simple representative figure, usually to focus on. I think I'll come back to Blood for a Dollar. I don't think Blood for a Dollar will get too much play, per se. Like I said, where is the game? Where is Blood for a Dollar? Where are the characters in Blood for a Dollar? The characters in Blood for a Dollar are human, right? So their stats don't exist in their racial components. There is no magic system. So the medicine man is a medicine man in name only. He just has, a proficiency bonus. I would like to come back for Blood for a Dollar. I think what I would like to do with Blood for a Dollar is that I think I would like magic system is interesting because we see how a psionic system works in Hive of Bone. It's very easy to see how a magic system could work for a Blood for a Dollar. We just need our terminology. Uh, the term medicine man, I would like to avoid cultural appropriation. The showgirl in a lot of the systems, like in the updated core rule book that preceded the basic system, we have bards who use charisma to cast magic. So we could see our showgirl or our show person turn into a performer casting charisma magic. So we could have things like Houdini's Great Escape for teleport, or smoke bombs for fire damage, or dry ice or something. We just need to find our language to get those effects in for these people in this world. And then we're cooking with grease, and then we still have we do whatever we want to, and then those cowboys in name only can go wherever they want to. Will we see an update? We've seen updates for other things. We know that Noah's new passion is the gay realms. I have concerns for the history of Micro Chapbook for the future of Micro Chapbook RPG because, quite frankly, I have concerns for an exclusively gay um, gaming universe. But I have no problem with exclusively gay gaming universe. But I just don't know if it's got if there's I, you know, and it's a particularly I don't they we as we move forward into the future of Noah and this whole thing, it'll be interesting because wow, holy moly. So this whole thing, so ay ay ay, because the other thing is, my gosh, ah, they're gonna run into, oh my godly moly, I don't know where to start. Um, where the so if an update happens, it's probably gonna happen in the context of Homoland USA, which is fine for some people, but maybe not everybody. And here's Rimsey with an awesome line. This is great, and it was made a while ago. Anyone can suffer blow through damage when confronted with five guys in a room. Da 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 da. Yeah. All right. Here we go. So, hey, we'll see. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. I like it. That's what he said. And what, also the other problem is this is that so Noah has this thing. So the gay realms is all these previous worlds that were previously connected in his imagination via just kind of you know if you have a dream, you can dream a dream and go in there in your dreams, and we're all dreaming in our dream worlds. Now is explicitly through these like black power stones of passion. You go there and feel it, the vibe. I like, hey, yeah, it's good times. You go there. The old west. Where's the thing? I've got the map. I got there because you can go. It's off the highway. Um, Yada. I have a map. Wait, where's my map? Where's my game map? Oh, I left my game map at home. Honestly, no, I swear to God. Again, the game map. Wait, I've got multiple game apps. I have literally everything this guy published. Almost. I have like the quick start gay rules. I have the gay rules to the gay rules, but I have some of them at home. I can't believe this thing doesn't have the friggin'. This must have been what. This was the outset to the. This is the beginning of the journey. So anyway, the planet Old West apparently is like a half moon planet, and that irks me from a physics standpoint. You can't have a half planet. Maybe it's in the Savage Worlds. And then he acts like this. Oh, so much that's annoying. Anywho, listen, I love the system. I'm going to continue to cover the system. I'm going to continue to cover the rest of the system because, like I said, whatchamacallit, yada, yada, yada. Um, there's a lot of product on the market for this system, but it's hard to know where to start. So hopefully, if I keep uncovering these products, people will have a better idea of how these various products work and integrate and work together, and maybe that'll help them feel more confident in making consumer choices and decisions within the marketplace, and hopefully maybe also that will provide a place for people to get together and talk about the system, all that the good stuff. I mean, I really do like the system, and it's a very very simple system that allows people to get together. It's a very hackable system. I liken it to the I like it because I like it. It's a lot like playing NES role playing games. The repetition of the combat that I think that I've seen a lot of uh, old school kind of traditional Dungeons and Dragons role playing game guys and gals find dissatisfying the system. I think a lot of people like me who had a foot in both like JRPG, SNES, NES kind of JRPG and tabletop role playing games will find kind of comforting and like uh, because we're used to it. It's that Final Fantasy like boom, boom, like the guy goes and then you go and then the guy goes and then you go and then the guy goes and you goes and it doesn't make sense if you're trying to visualize it in your head as combat occurring normatively between individuals um, interacting in physical space like normative human beings. But if you're used to seeing combat play out between 8-bit and 16-bit sprites, then you're not going to have any problem with it at all. And in fact, you're going to find it kind of, I think, kind of like hot chocolate, kind of normative and comforting. That's what I find it. I find it very, I enjoy it. I think a lot of other people will too. And it's hackable in the same way that like, so what I do is like, what I like about this system is that like, and I think what, I think as we go through this channel, you're gonna see me do things that I think a lot of like maybe regular role playing guys might think is like ass backwards, which is things like I hack things. I think this like playing these games is like I like I'll take a guy and I'll auto level them. You know what I mean? Like I'll take a guy and I'll be like, oh, let's let's make him like maximum level. And people be like, why would you do that? Like, don't you want to play him like to level him up? I'm like, no, I want to see what I want to see what like the ultimate guy looks like going through the system. Just to see. You know what I mean? I want to see what like the ridiculous. Like I want to see what like I want to see what the Rainbow Warrior, Fae, Zombie level 10 looks like with that weapon. And she's got poison damage. Yeah, I want to see what that does. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and so and oh, she kills those the standard micro chatbook RPG enemies. She kills them in one hit. So that's not gonna work. So I have to we have to figure out a way to get the D&D White Dragon in. You know what I mean? This is how many times is gonna hit she's gonna have to hit that hit point pool till it brings it down. You know what I mean? Figure out how it works. You know what I mean? It's just numbers. It's stupid. None of this is real. But what's funny, and what I think, I'll end on this. Having spent 7 years plus immersed in a world of people who acted as though they were arguing and fighting about and fighting for things that were the ultimate things, like were really about good versus evil and about, you know, saving babies from being murdered and assaulted and killed and raped and all that stuff. But seeing how over time that these people really did not care at all about what they were saying or about what they were saying from point A to point B, if it turned out to be true or false or anything, and then coming here to like other worlds like comic books and role playing games and action figures and movies and stuff, and seeing like how passionate people like really are in these worlds about like they won't like let you forget, like they won't like let it go if like if like the 1979 printing of a book said that like the autoglaive caused like 2d6 of damage against a mech, then like that's what it did. And if like you come in 1984 and said elsewise, like fuck you, you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like you're just wrong. Like no, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like that level of like holding, like it, to be reminded that people can still remember baseline facts and like hold on to things. And it might seem contradictory what I just said about hacking things, but it's like, yeah, I'm hacking something, but I'm hacking something that's like
imaginary and not true. And the hope is also like, having dealt with people who like were overexcited about things that were just not true, that hopefully I can just relax and understand that if I get into fights with people, like at least I can know and understand that, like, well, like we can know and understand that there's no excuse. Like, I don't have to worry about, like, because I used to get into fights with people and I'd have to like be like, fuck, like I have to worry because like this person, like it's not enough. Like maybe they, like I have to worry because, yeah, but maybe they think this might be, I might be dealing with one of these idiots who really does think that reptilians control the government. You know what I mean? And I'm one of their agents. You know what I mean? That have to be taken out. You know what I mean? But like at least here, like I know that like as passionate as someone might be about like the maintaining of the standards of like the white box rule set in regards to the proper DC rankings of kobolds. You know what I mean? It's probably not going to come to blows. You know what I mean? Or bloodshed. So there's that. Anyway, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told me I loved you today, somebody just did. That guy is CW Chanter, aka Cable Guy Incognito, aka Benjamin, aka whoever the fuck I am today. And I usually do a tarot card pull on my old channel. There's no real reason to stop. So I hope that one day Noah Patterson sees these videos. I think the only reason that Noah Patterson hasn't seen my videos yet, if he, she, they hasn't already, is because I promote these videos on Twitter in like a grandfather instead of on Instagram, like a hip, cool 30-something-year-old. You know what I mean? The grandmothers and great grandfathers are on Facebook. The aging uncles are on Twitter, right? Getting ready for our colostomy bags, and all the aging Gen Xers on diabetes medicine are on Instagram, and the pedophiles are cruising for the kids on TikTok. So what are we doing here? Lying to ourselves on YouTube. Anywho, we need a card. Give me a card. Oh, and will anyone ever show from the solo? And guys, folks, oh my God, the sadness. I'm trying to break into the solo RPG like community, like the niche of the niche. You've no understanding, like the sadness that's the community that I'm trying to break into, and I will be thoroughly rejected. I always think like, oh my God, look at this community of like sad losers. They'll love me because I'm like I can talk to people, like they'll accept me, but no, losers always reject me the most of anyone else. Losers, because like I don't know, no one likes me ever except like you guys. But you guys like I don't know. Maybe people will like me. No one. Ooh, Rimsey says your tarot card pull for today is the Eight of Wands. I have it right here. Let's see. You ready? Now it's the Osho deck. So if we get a foul card, we'll know that it's not your fault. It's the Osho. Ready? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Eight of Wands. Come on, baby. Come on. Seven of Swords. Ooh. Hey, but you know what? Hold on. Listen. But you want to know something? Technically, we're only 1 degree off in each direction. Okay? Swords is the little is the I consider swords air. Okay, so here we go. Let's deconstruct it. In the Osho Zen Tarot, the suit of clouds, which is this gray thing, is the equivalent to swords. Wands, Rimsky called it for the Eight of Wands. We have essentially the Seven of Swords. So look, Eight of Wands, swords, wands is the primal, in my estimation, the primal, for want of a better term, male active force in the universe. I consider the swords or this suit here to be that manifestation of that energy in the material kind of mundane human realm. So it's like a step down. So really, I think that, you know what I mean, you're really close. You're goddamn close. Jonaside, of course, nailed it. Just off by a degree of time. Now, if Reamsey improves his kind of direction and Jonaside improves his time, we're right on the money. Now, as far as an interpretation of the card, they call this card politics. Now, Seven of Swords. What do we have? We have this. Isn't the Seven of Swords? Isn't that guy like sneaking away from the camp with all the swords? And then the sevens are always kind of dicey. It's an uneven number, and I always consider seven the number of the gods. But it's that anthropomorphic gods. It's the Zeus, it's the Jehovah, it's Hera, it's Aphrodite. It's not Source, right? It's not the unmanifest great electron. It's not the unbounded all. It's the dumbass Hercules banging its head against the wall. It's Shiva ripping Ganesh's head off, his own child, and then replacing it with an elephant, a la Homer Simpson, bungling to repair Bart before Marge figures out that you broke the fucking kid, Shiva. Way to go. Thanks, Dad. You look fine, kid. Go ride a mouse. You look cool. So it's in talking about politics, it's deception. So it's powerful, but it can only do its power to do this not great stuff. And it can achieve ends, but these ends are not going to do much other than what they can do. The boa constrictor can constrict and crush, and it can win the amazement of the heavy metal fans who will go, holy shit, man, did you see it crush that thing? Motherfuck. But it ain't gonna build anything. It will be amazed, it will be honored, but it will do nothing other than simply crush and do what it does. Silly bitch, you knew I was a snake when you brought me in here. What'd you expect me to do? I'm a politician. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You get what you pay for. But it's okay because we can have a response. Hi, hater. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the game. Just understand that we're playing. Right? Woo! Here comes Rimsey with some truth. And sometimes the Seven of Swords can be a significator for the reader. That would be me. You may be the one taking away the loot rather than having it taken from you. Hush your mouth. I'm playing politics. And the party's just getting started. And what does anything of this have to do with solo role playing? It has everything to do with solo role playing. So says I. The world is still unwritten. The game is still being played. And we're all just works in progress. When will I play? When will I roll the dice? I'm working up to it. Here's Rimsey. I thought you might get the Eight of Swords because you are moving in a direction quickly and with purpose and know where you are going, although it may not be shown to onlookers. I'm goofy. Sorry. I don't think you're goofy at all. I like the way your mind is thinking. And it's interesting that you thought of Eight of Swords, but we got just one notch lower and we got politics. I may be up to something. Oh, who knows? But you know what I think is also sometimes valuable? I also sometimes think I would say, like, I get, we have my consultation with my take on things, and then we have the authors. It's the Osho Zen Tarot. Now remember, folks, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh had absolutely nothing to do with the creation of this tarot deck. Nothing. Two lovely women gave their heart and souls into the creation of this deck, and then gave all the credit to their guru and master because that's what devotees do. And there are two parts. They write their own commentary, and then they came up with quotes from him to go along with it. So we'll read one part that is their commentary, and then we'll read quotes that they took from him that they thought matched up with it. So here's their commentary. Do you recognize this man? Speaking of the man in the card, I put it already back in the deck. All but the most innocent and sincere of us have a politician lurking somewhere in our minds. In fact, the mind is political. Its very nature is to plan and scheme and try to manipulate situations and people so that it can get what it wants. Here, the mind is represented by the snake, covered with clouds and speaking with a forked tongue. But the important thing to realize about this card is that both faces are false. The sweet, innocent, trust me face is a mask, and the evil, toxic, I'll have my way with you face is a mask, too. Politicians don't have real faces. The whole game is a lie. Take a good look at yourself to see if you have been playing this game. What you see might be painful, but not as painful as continuing to play. It doesn't serve anybody's interest in the end, least of all yours. Whatever you might achieve in this way will just turn to dust in your hands. Now, I'm reading from the Osho Zen Tarot. Now, Osho, you might have seen that documentary, Wild Wild Country, like the poison people, and it's a religious cult. I'm not a believer. Don't worry, I'm not a believer. We just read words. We just read words and reflect. Anybody, this is from Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. They took this from one of his sermons. Anyone who can be a good pretender, a hypocrite, will become your leader politically, will become your priest religiously. All that he needs is hypocrisy. All that he needs is cunningness. All that he needs is a facade to hide behind. Your politicians lead double lives. Your priests lead double lives. One from the front door, the other from the back door. And the back door life is their real life. Those front door smiles are just false. Those faces looking so innocent are just cultivated. If you want to see the reality of the politician, you will have to see him from his back door. There he is in his nudity, as he is, and so is the priest. These two kinds of cunning people have dominated humanity, and they found out very early on that if you want to dominate humanity, make it weak, make it feel guilty, make it feel unworthy, destroy its dignity, take all glory away from it, humiliate it, and they have found such subtle ways of humiliation that they don't come in the picture at all. They leave it to you to humiliate yourself, to destroy yourself. They have taught you a kind of slow suicide. Who knows? Here's Brandis. Hello, CW. Just coming by for a like. The RPG looks cool, almost like the Gunslinger. Check it out. Here's Reamsey. I screwed up again. I thought Eight of Wands, not swords. I'm so absent-minded. CW, don't worry about it. No worries. I need to take another look at the Osho Zen deck. I like the explanations. I should not judge the deck just looking at it and not reading the book. No worries, Reemsy. I don't think that that's a problem at all. That's not a problem at all. Reemsy, also, I think that you are, just by your nature, I think just knowing you, you're a very traditionalist when it comes to the tarot. And if you're a very traditionalist when it comes to the tarot, the Osho Zen Tarot is it's not a traditionalist deck. So you're a person who's a traditionalist is not going to have the greatest time with a non-traditionalist deck. I think that's to be expected. Well, I think that was always my take on it, my summation based on what you've shared with me in the past regarding your feelings with it. But there's certain cards, you know, tarot decks, are they're complex. You know what I mean? What is it, 78 instances, right? So um, it's rare that you find a deck that's perfect along the lines, right? It's usually one or two stinkers in the bunch, don't quite fit, don't quite work, and usually two or three that are just like, man. And usually when people think of like, their perfect deck, it's usually if they could get these two or three types of images out of this deck and those two or three types of images out of that one, and those two, three, out of that would probably their perfect one would come. And you know what? If they took their perfect one and finally got it burnt down to those images and they showed it to 10 of their best friends, there's 10 best friends that say, oh man, I really like those ones, but that Seven of Swords, I don't know, it just doesn't suit me. The look on the guy's face, it's like he's accusing me of something. I like my Eight of Wands to be more purposeful, like they're meaning to go to Earth. There you go. Here's Rimsey. I'm breaking out of Just Traditions now, not leaving RWS, and have been reading stuff like Tinseltown and Fundex, and even bought a Wizard Tarot, which is actually good. Very nice. Very good to hear that. Nice, Rimsey. But anyway, so as not to steal focus or lose focus from there we go. We already added it already from the RPG basis of this channel. Anyway, no worries there, Rimsey. Always the crimes of Rimsey will always be forgiven. Reeves, he says, staying in just RWS caused me to miss a lot of good stuff. It didn't cause you to miss a lot of good stuff. It's all about reframing, Reeves. Don't think of it as causing you to have missed a lot of good stuff. It allowed you the opportunity to have saved a lot of good stuff for later. You saved a lot of good stuff for later. You know? I think about that often, and believe it at this. There have been times when I've looked and I thought to myself, oh man, because I get these books out, these role-playing games book out after all these years. Many of these books out after all these years. And sometimes I'll think, oh man, all these years that I had these books and I could have been doing this and I could have been doing that and I wasted all this time smoking this dope, drinking and stupid shit, and I could have been playing, I could have been reading these years, and I could have all these time wasted. And I stop myself and I say, you know, if you didn't put it away for 30 years, it wouldn't have been 30 years nostalgic, when you popped it back open. It would have been yesterday's old news. It's special and it's fresh and it's diving into stuff you haven't seen since you were X, because you haven't seen it since you were X. And you were committed to RWS for X number of years, and you got the passion and the power of being focused in on RWS. And now, because you spent that time in that space, you now have this backlog of all this stuff to go into. And I get that too because I spent all this time away from role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. Like I chiefed out of role playing games basically in 87, like 88. That was like right before second edition happened. Right before second edition happened. So, like, I've got two, three, four, five, six, like, I've got 5 generations of shit to catch up on. And people are like, well, that's not, why would you want to catch up on that shit? I'm like, why wouldn't I want to catch up on that shit? Like people are like, well, I'm like, either the world's gonna end in 5 years, or we're gonna live to 5,000. Like that's pretty much the way I figure it. You know, either the environmental disaster, we're gonna unfold in like 5 years, we're done, or I'm gonna live to 5,000 years old in a computer, and I have got time to not only catch up on 5 generations of D&D, but to be bored with it. You know? So, fuck it. I'm trying to stay off drugs and alcohol. So, 5 generations, 5 iterations of role playing games books to read plus. You know what I mean? I'm cool. I got time. You know what I mean? I'm good. Folks, I love you. New subscribers, subscribe. New subscribers, subscribe. Come on. Let's make this happen. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll show you the world's greatest Deathstalker 5 impersonation. It's killer. I don't know. I really think it's good. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.